everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It's a little bit different today. I was gonna do a book review, and I will do a book review, so don't worry. But I left my notes, so I don't have my notes with me, so I'm a bit disorganised. And unfortunately, I need my notes to do the book review. But don't you worry, I will do it another week. So I thought today instead, I'm going to do the video in two parts. Both parts are going to be quite brief. The first part, sorry, get my thoughts in order. I'm rather sleepy today and a bit dazed. Yeah. So the first part, I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about what I have to do to kind of how can I put it? I guess to sort of like regulate myself and deal with all my stresses and stuff in a form of movement, like I just showed at the start of the video. Funny enough, I actually feel more awake now having done that. And then in the second video, I'm going to be showing you a few recipes I've been doing lately. So to start off, then, this is completely improvised. I haven't taken any notes on this. Yeah. So I'm a really like energetic person, and I have like a lot of energy. And the way I deal with that is as I just shown you before, like this, because I have to get it out. Yeah, that's what I have to do to get the energy out. Like, yeah, like that. And I do that when I'm at home, and obviously there's no one to watch me and pass horrible comments and judges. So why is that girl running and jumping like that? But I have to do that to get the energy out, because I'm like a really energetic person. Now I've always been a very energetic person. I've always had a lot of energy stored within me. When I was a child, I was constantly on the go. You know, I was often running around, really fast. I was a really fast runner. You know, I was like steam along, like right along. I was like really fast on my little legs. Yeah, my mum used to say, you know, I was a really active child. Obviously, she didn't know anything about autism at the time. This was when I was very little. And she just thought, you know, that it was genetic because she was always quite energetic person. Didn't like to be sitting down for too long. Her father was a very energetic person. You know, he was both mentally and physically. You know, he constantly needed to be stimulated, constantly on the go. So, you know, and her brother, one of her brothers, also very driven and very kind of like constantly having to tap his fingers and stuff. Very energetic. So she just thought that, you know, it was genetic, which I guess it is really. I mean, like, after all, autism is genetic. Obviously my grandfather wasn't autistic, at least not to my knowledge. And my mum wasn't, but she had traits. But yeah, so she initially put it down to that, and obviously when I was a baby as well, I was a very energetic baby. I think even before I was born, I was energetic. I was like a kicker, like kicked a lot, way more than my brother. And my mum said that when I was a baby, I would constantly jiggle my legs, like constantly, and like jiggling and like moving like, all the time, like never staying still. And then when I was a toddler, I was like constantly racing everywhere, running around, like just a whirlwind of energy. But I think my mum thought that was a good sign because, like, obviously energy, being alert, you know, is a sign of vigour and being healthy and everything. Obviously this hyperactivity never really went. I've always been very energetic, and I think my mum thought, you know, I'd sort of like calm down a bit, but obviously as I got older, I was still very energetic. This was a problem when I was at primary school because I didn't like sitting down doing my work. I preferred to walk around the classroom as opposed to do my work. So I felt it didn't actually interest me. If it interested me, it's a different story, and I would stay seated. It was only if it didn't interest me, which is most of the time, in fact, because like most of schoolwork was just very boring and just not interesting. So yeah, I much prefer to be on my feet, walking around, being active. I was a very, very active child, a very fit, very vigorous, very healthy child. I had an outdoors childhood. I was often playing outdoors. I was lucky in that respect, I guess, because many kids these days are just cooped up inside, but I didn't have a TV growing up. I didn't get a TV till I was 10. My parents didn't get a TV till I was 10. So I had to kind of entertain myself. So I had a very outdoors childhood. My parents often didn't really left me to my own devices. So I was often out playing in the garden, getting muddy, making mud pies, entertaining myself, running, mainly just lots and lots of running and activity, and playing with frisbees and balls and skipping ropes and just being very energetic. Which I think was good for me as well, because I was that very hyper-energetic child. At least I had an outlet for that, whereas I think quite a few kids these days who might have just the same energy or vigour, because they're cooped up inside all day, they have no outlet for their energy, and I think that can make them kind of even worse in their energy, because they have no outlet for it, whereas at least I did have an outlet for it. And also, because my parents are keen walkers, I was often walking, which was great, because I got all that. I didn't like, this is a funny thing, I used to complain about going for long walks, because, I didn't particularly like going for long walks, but at least it got that energy out, I think, so that was good, in some respects. But anyway, yeah, so I've always been very energetic, and it's never left me. As I say, I'm an adult, 30 years old, coming on 31, can't believe that, but there we go. Don't feel my age. And, the energy hasn't left me, it's still there. I'm just as energetic, I guess, as I've always been. It's just that I think it's taken new forms as I've got older. And whereas when I was a kid, I wasn't really a very academic child, because I did prefer to be running around and being active. Unless it interested me. If something interested me when I was a kid, like say if I was reading a book and it really interested me, then I would focus, really intense. But because a lot of things, a lot of academic sort of sit-down activities didn't interest me that much, I was therefore often on a go. But yeah, as I say, as I've got older, that energy's still there, but I think I've become a lot more scholarly and a lot more academic as I've got older. I've kind of changed in that respect. Consequently, I'm a lot more sedentary than I used to be, and I've always loved reading. For example, I've always loved the written word. But as I've got older, I think that's become a bit more intense. That interest. It might be also, I've just become better at it. I mean, I've always been good at it to some extent, but when I was a kid, I used to really struggle with comprehension and things like that, and that's improved as I've got older. And I think because I've got better at that sort of aspect, I can understand things more, it's become a lot more accessible to me as well. And consequently, I have become a real bookworm, a real extreme bookworm. And I read, I live to read, basically. And that's obviously meant I'm a lot more sedentary, but I think it's more, in a sense, the energy has become transferred to the mental domain. I mean, it's still there physically, but I'm also more driven mentally now than I used to be. And so I have this real need for stimulation in that respect, this real kind of I can't stand not having stimulation. I have to be stimulated in some way. That's just who I am. So a bit more sedentary than I used to be in that respect, but in the sense that I'm sitting down more. But I still have that energy, and it tends to come out in bursts. As I showed you at the beginning of the video, me jumping and flapping like that. But I have to do that to get the energy out. I have this real need to do it. It kind of overcomes me, this urge. It's kind of like an involuntary urge. I mean, as I was showing to the camera earlier, that I was just showing you that. So, but when it happens, it tends to happen in an involuntary way. I just want to be, I need to do that. And then I have this real need to jump, and it feels great. It gets the energy out, and it often happens. If I've been very, very overstimulated during the day. So, say for the sake of argument, I've been out doing quite a lot, say attending a meeting or something, or having to socialise. I'm having to mask all the time as I do that. I'm having to sit there very controlled, trying to control my energy. Don't draw attention to myself. Don't flap my hands even though I want to. Being all nice and controlled. The energy then gets stored as tension. So when I get home, I have to get the energy out. So what happens is, I'm close to the door, I'm so relieved now, I'm on my own. His energy comes out, and it's like this involuntary gush. I guess it's the closest I get to being actually in a mindful state, or maybe I shouldn't even say mindless, because it's like involuntary. I'm not even thinking about it. I'm not thinking, oh, let's jump. It just happens, and before I know it, I'm jumping and running and going like that, and going like that. I like going like that. Well, I do that a lot. I do these funny little laughs. Like, I go like that. Like when I'm on the internet, sometimes like it's random. Like say if I get like read this really interesting bit of information, it's like makes me really excited. It's like like that. It's like so I can see what I do in my private life. Do any of you do any of these things? I'd love to know. It's a shame I can't do, or I feel I need to repress that when I'm out in public. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to do those things because I was really hyper and really energetic. And I don't think, because there wasn't so much awareness about autism when I was growing up, I would imagine that people who saw me doing that, like or being silly or being clowning around, just thought, oh, she's just being a little bit, oh, what's that kid doing? You know, we need to discipline her. I do remember when I was in year one time, because I used to run around, and I remember I once went into the toilets and I was being a little bit naughty, and these kids chased me out of the toilets because they were angry, and they were like and I ran out really, really fast, and the teacher put her hand there like that, because I just bolted straight into the classroom, and I just carry on running, so the teacher was like, put her hand out. And yeah, so I think teachers probably just got annoyed with me. Well, they just called me an enigma. I didn't know why I was different. They just called me an enigma. I mean, I knew I had difficulties. That was picked up from when I was very young. And also when I was at nursery school, I was really hyper because I used to just like bounce up and down on the beanbags, and I used to like. I never used to like listen to the story or anything. When the teacher was telling a story, I used to just like prefer to bounce up and down on the beanbags than listen, because it was far more interesting bouncing up and down on the beanbags. So my parents often got told, you know, that I was disrupting the other kids. That was the ongoing thing, you know. Anna's disrupting the other kids. That's what my parents were often told. They often called into school for that. But yeah, so although like when I was a kid I didn't mask and I was like all myself and active, teachers never thought, never put two and two together. They just put it down to other things. I think it's like a lack of awareness. But as I've gotten older, because I've become more aware, like about what's expected in society and stuff, and like I'm no longer quite like that goofy, silly person I used to be, where I just didn't care and I was just myself in public, and I'm really, really inappropriate sometimes. It's now like gone the other way, and now like I've almost become too aware, so I'm really keen to like mask it and control it, and that just means that I still have all this energy. It just gets stored as tension. So when I get home, I need to release it, and that's what I do. I do those little jumps and things you just saw. I tiptoe walk. I love being on my toes without my shoes on. It just feels better. It feels really weird being with my feet flat on the ground. I'm not sure if I talked to you before. I can walk with my feet flat on the ground now. That's without shoes, by the way. When I've got shoes, it's fine. I can walk flat. I can walk absolutely fine with shoes on. I can walk flat. It's absolutely fine. For me, it's when I don't have shoes on, and I think like I've seen other autistic people who have a similar issue. Some of them have to walk on tiptoe even with their shoes on. But for me, if I've got shoes on, as long as they're sturdy shoes, I don't have any problem walking with the feet flat on the ground. For me, the problem is if I don't have shoes on, or if I have like those really, really thin like plimsoll shoes like I used to wear at school, then it's really uncomfortable to have my feet flat on the ground. I think because for me, the shoes provide some kind of barrier between my flat feet and the ground, so again I can walk flat. But as soon as you remove those shoes, particularly if I've got bare feet, it's really uncomfortable to walk my feet flat on the ground. I didn't know why this was. I just, you don't really question it, do you? I mean, like, yeah, it just feels weird, like having my feet flat on the ground. It feels kind of wobbly and a bit uncomfortable. But as I've got older, I can do that. So now I can walk. I'll show you. I mean, I can walk with my feet flat on the ground, but it kind of feels, I don't know if you can see, but it feels rather uncomfortable. So I have to it just feels weird. It feels like wobbly. So I have to walk on tiptoes most of the time when I don't have shoes. Even though, like, if I'm in, say, trying on shoes in a shoe shop, because I'm trying to mask, I really consciously try and walk my feet flat on the ground. Like I say, I can do it now. When I was a kid, I just physically could not do it. It was just impossible. But I can do it now, and I will mask it. But my natural position is to be on my toes. It feels so much nicer, so much easier, and so much, just less uncomfortable. So so that's just giving you some insight into my energy levels and how I need to release that energy. Do let me know how you deal with all your energy, or if you're, do you go like that, or do you have to go? Do you like jump up and down and stuff? Do you do it in public? Because I know there are some autistic people I know, and I really, really envy them. I just so wish I could have that confidence just to not care. I mean, I did have the confidence when I was younger, but I think for me, it's just I've become so aware of like how people are supposed to behave, and like so aware of my difference and that, and just this real need to try and blend in and fit in. That it's kind of gone to the extent where I really, so much of my personality I just kind of like repress when I'm in public, and it's really unfair. And I am trying not to care, not to much, but oh my god, it's so difficult. Really is, because people do judge. Like, there's no doubt about it. People do judge. If they see a grown 30-year-old woman, I mean, I don't look my age, but you know, I still obviously I don't look like a kid anymore. So maybe some people might judge me as, I don't know, early 20s or something, or late teens. But you know, I can no longer pretend I'm like 10 years old. if they see someone like an adult, like running and jumping, like I think running's okay, and I do run, because the thing is, like, I don't mind, because I know if I were to just run, and I do run, I don't think people judge if I see you running, because like many people run and they probably just think, oh, you're in a rush to get somewhere, and running isn't seen as like abnormal. So I do run, and that's one way I can release it a bit more safely. But the thing is, I do really want to jump as well, not flat. But if I did that, people are going to stare. Sometimes I do that, and I just think, oh god, I really don't give a crap. I can be myself. It's a free society. Just do it. And if someone judges, that's their problem. And sometimes I have a real attitude of confidence. Oh my god, I'm just going to do it. But and the thing is, and I have done that before in public, and no one actually said anything. But the thing is like, it still puts you in that vulnerable position, because you never know. That's the thing, it's that not knowing. Some people can be quite horrible, and I don't have the confidence to deal with that. Like, I really fear confrontation. Like, people can be really discriminatory and horrible, and I really fear that. So I do envy those people who can confidently be themselves in public and be their autistic self and have that confidence to really stand up for themselves. And I wish I could be like that. I guess it's probably a personality thing as well. I mean, we're all different in terms of our personality, you know, and people have had different experiences, of course, and so maybe eventually I will get to that same position that those autistic people are in who don't care. Some of them have gone through a process where they cared initially like me and then gradually grew not to care. So hopefully I will go through that similar trajectory and maybe eventually just not care. So let's see. I am working on it. But anyway, do let me know how what you do to release tension and regulate yourself in terms of your energy levels, you know, anxiety and emotional states and stuff. I'd be very interested to hear about that. Right, moving on to the next video now. The next video is going to be a shorter one in this one where I'm just going to talk about a few recipes I've done lately. So thank you for watching.